Rome's bloodiest revenge, how 20,000 dead legionaries were avenged. The year is 9 AD, and Emperor Augustus, the most powerful man in the known world, is literally losing his mind. Palace guards watch in horror as the 72-year-old emperor stumbles through marble corridors in the dead of night, beating his head against stone walls, screaming the same words over and over. "Quintilius Varus, give me back my legions." But those legions would never return. 20,000 of Rome's finest soldiers, 3 complete legions, had been slaughtered in the Germanic forests in what would become the most catastrophic military defeat in Roman history. The Teutoburg Forest massacre wasn't just a battle lost, it was a national trauma that shook the Roman Empire to its core. But what came next was even more terrifying, because Rome didn't just mourn, Rome prepared for revenge. And when that revenge finally came, it would drench Germania in blood for years. Let's talk about what happened after Teutoburg, because the aftermath is somehow even more brutal than the massacre itself. In the months following the disaster, Rome was paralyzed by shock and fear. Statues of Augustus were mysteriously struck by lightning. The protective gods of Roman households, the Lares and Penates, were said to weep tears of blood. The emperor ordered massive expiatory sacrifices, desperately trying to appease whatever gods had allowed this catastrophe. But Augustus knew that prayers alone wouldn't restore Roman honor. The 3 golden eagles, the sacred standards of the destroyed legions, remained in barbarian hands, displayed in Germanic sanctuaries like trophies. For Rome, this was the ultimate humiliation. Those eagles represented Roman power, Roman glory, Roman invincibility, and now they belonged to tribes the Romans considered barely civilized. Augustus was old, but he wasn't stupid. He knew that rushing into Germania for immediate revenge would be suicide. Instead, he played the long game. He reinforced the Rhine frontier with his best generals and freshest legions. He created new military units specifically trained for forest warfare, soldiers who wouldn't make the same mistakes Varus had made. And most significantly, he did something that had never been done before. He permanently disbanded the destroyed legions. Legion numbers 17, 18, and 19 would never be used again in Roman military history. It was as if Rome was trying to erase the memory of Teutoburg from existence. But really, they were just biding their time. When Augustus died in 14 AD, his stepson Tiberius inherited both the throne and the burning desire for Germanic vengeance. Tiberius knew exactly who should lead the revenge campaign: his nephew and adopted son, Germanicus Julius Caesar. Young, charismatic, and brilliant, Germanicus was everything Rome loved in a general. He was noble by birth, cultured in the arts, and absolutely fierce in battle. Tiberius handed him command of 8 legions stationed on the Rhine, over 40,000 men, with one simple mission: recover the lost eagles and make the Germanic chieftain Arminius, who had orchestrated the Teutoburg massacre, pay in blood. Germanicus's first campaign in 14 AD was basically a warning shot. He crossed the Rhine with 30,000 men, burned villages, scattered Germanic war bands, and sent a very clear message through the smoke of burning settlements. Rome was coming. But the real revenge began in 15 AD, and Germanicus had learned from Varus's fatal mistakes. Instead of marching his entire army in one vulnerable column through hostile forests, he split his forces. 4 legions under General Caecina advanced overland, while Germanicus himself led 4 more legions in a massive fleet of 1,000 ships up the North Sea and into the Ems River. This naval invasion caught the Germans completely off guard. They couldn't organize an effective defense against Roman legions appearing from the sea. And then something happened that changed everything. On a grey, humid morning, Germanicus's legions stumbled upon the Teutoburg battlefield itself, 6 years after the massacre. The Roman historian Tacitus described what they found: whitened bones scattered everywhere, weapon fragments rusting in the mud, human skulls nailed to tree trunks. Germanicus ordered an immediate halt. With tears streaming down his face, He personally supervised the collection of every bone fragment his men could find. That night, by torchlight, they buried the remains of their massacred brothers in a communal mound. Germanicus delivered the funeral eulogy, placing the first handful of earth on the grave, while each soldier added stones and dirt. This wasn't just a burial, it was a promise. The spirits of 20,000 dead Romans were watching, demanding vengeance. The ceremonial burial supercharged Roman morale. These soldiers were no longer just following orders. They were on a holy mission of retribution, and Arminius knew it. The Germanic chieftain who had destroyed 3 Roman legions couldn't face this new Roman war machine head-on, so he resorted to guerrilla tactics, ambushing small detachments and disappearing into the forests. But Germanicus forced him into open battle at the Weser River, and this time, Roman discipline crushed Germanic fury. Thousands of German warriors died, and Arminius himself was wounded by a Roman javelin. His cavalry was caught in a Roman trap and massacred. The Battle of the Weser was Rome's first major victory, but it was just the beginning. Not every Roman force was so lucky. General Caecina, returning with 4 legions through swampy terrain called the Long Bridges, found himself in a nightmare scenario almost identical to Teutoburg. Arminius had destroyed sections of the wooden walkways and flooded the surrounding marshes. The Romans were stuck in the mire, vulnerable, stretching for kilometers, exactly like Varus's doomed column. Germans attacked from elevated positions, raining projectiles down on soldiers trapped in the mud. But Caecina wasn't Varus. This veteran general kept his cool, abandoned the heavy supply wagons, and established a fortified camp. Then, instead of continuing the retreat, he did something unexpected. He launched a surprise dawn attack. The Germans, expecting the Romans to keep slogging through the swamp, were caught completely off guard. Caecina's legions smashed through their lines, turned a potential disaster into a tactical victory, and escaped with all 4 legions intact. By 16 AD, Germanicus had one obsession: recovering the lost eagles. Intelligence reports indicated that one eagle was held in an Angrivari fortress. Germanicus besieged it for a week with catapults and siege towers, bombarding it with stones and fire arrows. The Germanic defenders fought with suicidal determination, preferring to burn alive rather than surrender the sacred standard. When Roman legionaries finally breached the walls, the fighting was savage. Men fell from ladders, crushed by rocks or impaled on stakes. But for every fallen Roman, 2 more climbed up, driven by the sight of that golden eagle waving above the fortress. A Roman officer named Marcus Ventidius finally broke through, and when he emerged from the burning central hut holding the blackened eagle of Legion 19 high above his head, thousands of hardened soldiers wept openly. Rome's honor was being restored, one bloody battle at a time. The final showdown came at the Battle of Vizo. 30,000 Romans faced an equal number of Germans on an open plain, terrain that favored Roman formations. Germanicus rode before his troops, reminding them of Teutoburg's horrors, and when the battle began, it was a masterclass in Roman military superiority. The Germanic warriors crashed against Roman shield walls with savage ferocity, but discipline always beats fury. The legions advanced like a machine, stabbing methodically from behind their shields. Arminius led a desperate personal charge toward Germanicus's standard, and for one incredible moment, the 2 generals, Roman and German, civilization and barbarism, were mere meters apart. A Roman squire died taking the spear meant for Germanicus. Before Arminius could draw his sword, he was forced back. The Germanic lines crumbled. Thousands died. Arminius escaped, wounded again, looking back at a field he'd planned as a Roman trap, now transformed into a slaughterhouse for his people. Rome got its revenge. 2 of the 3 lost eagles were recovered. Germanic tribes suffered devastating defeats. But Tiberius, watching his nephew's growing popularity with suspicion, ordered Germanicus home in 17 AD. The war was declared over. Germanicus celebrated a magnificent triumph in Rome, parading Germanic captives and the recovered eagles through cheering streets. 2 years later, he was dead, possibly poisoned on Tiberius's orders. Arminius survived Rome's vengeance campaigns, but was assassinated by his own people in 21 AD, accused of aspiring to kingship. Neither man lived to see old age. Their personal war had consumed them both. But the memory of Teutoburg and Rome's terrible revenge would echo through history for millennia, a reminder that even the mightiest empire could bleed, and that Roman vengeance, once unleashed, was absolutely merciless.